The time for trading is almost done, if not already done in your fantasy league. So you need help down the stretch. You're going to have to look at the waiver wire. So today we're going to look at some young hitters finally getting their crack at regular at bats. And we have something old and something new in terms of starting pitching. And of course, some new would be closers. And real quick, before I talk about the first waiver wire pickup that I'm going to recommend for this week in baseball, this is not even a shameless plug. It's a very proud plug for those of you who play fantasy football or maybe just thinking about it. Remember, the Fantasy Endgame football channel, the flagship station, is, well, it's been alive and kicking all off season. There is no off season in the Fantasy Endgame. We've had videos every month, but if you haven't gotten into it yet, go check the Fantasy Endgame for fantasy football. We got a lot of great content for you as always, but also we've got some exciting new news you might want to go check out. All right, on to the hitters. I've got to start with a guy that you really should have picked up a long time ago. It's going to be, I don't know, 3 weeks in a row. I talk about Luke Keeschall, so I'll keep this short. You really should have picked him up by now. Yeah, I'm going to say I told you so because I've been saying this for a while. And guess what? His first 2 games off the IL just happened, and he's got 2 hits and 3 RBIs. No, not total. In each of those 2 games, 3 RBIs. Didn't take long for him to club his first major league home run. He already had several steals from before in the very brief time when he debuted. What are you waiting for? There's no reason Luke Keeschall should be available on waivers anywhere. I really don't care the format. You know, he's been playing DH a little bit. He also played a little bit of second base. He's now going to be the regular at second base, and you don't have to wait for him to get that eligibility. He already has first base, second base, outfield eligibility. Again, if you're not picking up Luke Keeschall where he's available, then you're doing it wrong. All right, not so obvious a pickup here, but the Brewers have been hot and they got a lot of guys out there who you might consider adding. The one who stands out for me the most, and I've picked up in a couple leagues, is Isaac Collins, their outfielder. Isaac Collins is not anything close to household names, never been a highly ranked prospect. He's a guy who briefly debuted last year and, not even enough to warrant any consideration in any format. And this year, when he got called up, nobody really took notice. This guy's already now 28 years old and just basically getting his first regular taste of playing time in the majors. He's making the most of it. Really giving you a little bit of everything. Got a pretty nice batting average, close to 300. Got 7 homers. Got 13 steals. He is actually all the way up to 300 plate appearances. So why all of a sudden is he relevant now? The Brewers have been really hot. They're scoring a lot of runs. And he's, again, an everyday outfielder now for them. Sal Frelick has been out with injury. Isaac Collins has proven that he needs to just be in left field on a regular basis. And I think they'll keep him there. Now, a more veteran player who is back again from injury is Dalton Varsho. And he is another one that has wasted 0 time as soon as he got activated, just like with Keeschall, just went bananas. In just his last 2 games alone, 3 homers and 10 RBIs. And sure, those were in Coors Field, but still, anybody who can get you 3 homers and 10 RBIs in just a 2-game span is worth adding. Probably more frustrating is the fact that the very next day he sat because, they're just trying to keep him healthy and intact now at this point, especially with what he's doing. He missed being part of a 20-1 blowout. The Blue Jays scored 20 runs, and he didn't get in on any of the action. Look, so with Varsho, it's simple. I've talked about him earlier in the season. When he's actually out there and healthy, he's got not only a gold glove, but he's got power and he can definitely help in fantasy. I do think that we're going to see this. He's going to sit semi-frequently, which is going to be frustrating, but he can make up for it with what he does when he's out there and when he's hot. Another vet who's starting to get warm, let's just say, is Jorge Polanco. So if you need some help at either middle or corner infield, look, maybe he's not the most new exciting name, but he has been solid. He had a pretty good first half. He kind of settled down as we got closer to the break, but this Mariners offense is very different now since the trade deadline. So Polanco has been getting better since the All-Star break. Okay, 254, but 3 homers and 9 RBIs. And since just the trade deadline, this new look lineup, he's hitting 353. I think part of Polanco's kind of downswing after his hot start was the fact that he did go in the IL. He's been, having some issues on and off, not just this year, but last year, right? Staying healthy has been an issue for him. He seems good now, and the fact that he is a switch hitter means he's not going to be sitting against lefties or righties. He's in there pretty much every day. The only time he sits is just get those maintenance days, to stay healthy. But so far, so good. He's hitting sixth in a pretty good lineup right now, and he can get you, a decent amount of power at both the middle and corner infield spots. Now, if you want to go deeper or take a chance on a young player, all right, now the A's are one of these teams that have also been just inexplicably on fire as of late. A lot of options there, some of which are already taken. I'm not going to buy into JJ Bleday. I'm just not going to do it. But I am interested in Daryl Hernandez. Now, he's been playing shortstop with Jacob Wilson still on the shelf. Not exactly sure when Wilson will come back. I know we're all missing him, but look, he's not about to come back. And Hernandez, even though he's usually a third baseman, has been playing short, has been doing pretty well at that, but especially he's been doing pretty well with the bat. Since getting recalled on July 29th, Hernandez is hitting 321 with 2 homers, 4 RBIs, 4 runs scored, and even a steal. Just went 2 for 3 on Thursday, raising his batting average even more. He isn't the most high level prospect, but he's kind of been on the radar. He's a guy I've kind of had some interest in and, waiting to see if he gets a crack. Now, no guarantee this lasts all season, but I don't see why if Wilson does come back, in the next couple of weeks, they can't just slide him back over to third base. I think they'd rather see him out there than Urshela. But either way, right now Hernandez is hot, so if you need some help in a deep league, I would take some interest. At this stage of the game, not a lot of starting pitchers that are worth adding and keeping, and no guarantees here. But if there's someone who definitely has the upside, it's Cade Cavalli of the Nationals. He just made his first start in 3 years at the major league level. This guy's had a long road back, right? Tommy John, multiple injuries and setbacks. And, he's been doing pretty well in AAA until lately. Then he started not doing so well. And so it became kind of cloudy as far as if and when he would get called up. I remember on the Beat the Breakout mentioned him, it feels like a couple months ago, maybe. I thought that he would get the call sooner, perhaps, but I guess they were just waiting until the second half officially kicked off. Well, whatever it is, they decided to give Cavalli a start, and it went pretty well. It wasn't that long, only 4 1/3 inning, but hey, again, first major league start since 2022. So 4 1/3 scoreless, and he struck out 6. Cavalli is a high-end prospect, or at least he has been for a long time. And look, he's got the stuff. His velocity was good. Let's see if it holds up. And it seems like he might be a name that is mentioned on the two start streamers stream because he could be in line to face both the Royals and then the Phillies next week. Now, if you prefer experience to youth, all right, may I suggest Aaron Savale, who you might recall now is with the White Sox. This is kind of a funny situation because he was on the Brewers and he actually requested to be traded and he wanted to wind up with a team like the White Sox, which sounds weird, except, the fact is he was demoted to the bullpen earlier in the season. He didn't want to be a bullpen arm. He wanted to be a starter. So he got out and he went to a team where now he is a starter. And, he's sort of making that look like a smart decision. Now, granted, he's not going to be in the postseason this year, but I think he may have boosted his value for next season because, he's on a tear here. 3 straight scoreless starts and a total of 20 strikeouts in 17 1/3 innings. Now, this is where I have to remind you, Aaron Savale has not done this for a prolonged stretch ever. He's been good at times. This is a veteran pitcher. He's had his moments, and, teams have found him valuable, but let's be real. This is a guy who's got a 4.03 career ERA, 1.21 career whip. And the strikeouts, I mean, they look good now, but his career strikeout rate is 22%. So what I'm saying is don't expect it to last necessarily, but hey, guys have put together stretches like this before. It doesn't mean that the very next start or two, all of a sudden, the bottom's going to fall out. He actually might just put together a great second half, another month or two of this. We'll see if it happens. I'm not counting on it, but hey, he's motivated clearly despite playing for the White Sox. And so right now I consider him a very high-end streamer. Maybe he'll just be good the rest of the way. Now, if you are still looking for some saves, well, we got to go to the obvious one here. It looks like the Yankees, for now, are settling on David Bednar as the closer. He's the next guy up after Devin Williams just refuses to keep that job. I mean, he just keeps giving up runs over and over again. I think it's like 4 straight appearances. Anyways, it seems pretty obvious Devin Williams isn't going to be the closer in New York, at least not for a while. David Bednar, one of their acquisitions at the trade deadline, he was next up. He got his first save as a Yankee. And look, I know his very first appearance, right after the deadline, they all gave up runs, right? Everybody was bad, and it was kind of a joke. But since then, the last two have been scoreless appearances, and he's going to get the ball in the ninth, it seems. So he might be available in some of your more shallow leagues. It is very possible. So he's got to be your first priority if you need saves. Now, if you're in a very competitive league, I can tell you that you might not even get a guy like Jose Ferrer, who we think could possibly be the closer for the Nationals if they even need one, because they don't really seem to lately. I say that for two reasons. First of all, so Ferrer, he just got in on ninth inning action for the Nats, but he didn't even get a save because just it wasn't a save situation, and he got the win. Nobody has gotten a save since the trade deadline when Kyle Finnegan was flipped, because this was the first time the Nats actually won, and even won in a close game. Ferrer so doesn't have a save, and I don't just mean since the deadline, like he doesn't have a save all season. So this is still a very much what if situation, but it seems based on usage that he is probably going to be the guy that they would get if they actually were in a safe situation. This also has to come with a warning of the fact that Ferrer really hasn't been that great this year. His ERA is close to 5. He doesn't have a high strikeout rate. I mean, this really is just if you need help in that saves category, and even then, good luck. And then, I hate to do it, but, well, somebody might hypothetically have to save games for the Diamondbacks. And so the next man up, it seems might be Kendall Graveman, the journeyman. So Kevin Ginkel, the veteran, has joined AJ Puck and Justin Martinez. All of these guys are on the 60-day IL. And so let's just hope Graveman isn't next in that sense. But for now, he's the guy with experience. He might be the guy who would get saves for Arizona. Keep in mind that a lot of what I just said about Ferrer applies here. He hasn't been that great, doesn't strike out a lot of batters, but at least Graveman does have experience. He has saved games before. I know you got to be desperate here for saves, but some of you just are. There are your waiver wire picks for this week. Act accordingly. Go ahead and grab who you can. Please don't let Luke Shaw be on the waiver wire anywhere, please. And if you watch that whole thing, you're thinking, hey, what about Jacob Marcy? You didn't talk about him. I did talk about him on the Beat the Breakout earlier this week. If you missed that video, or talk about him and some other prospects who either have recently gotten called up or are about to be called up, check it out right here.